Rising are playing a team that's third in the East, and Rising are where they are. What can the score be? Find out soon.
You can't hold a tune there, Mag.
Sam loves my tunes. Welcome to the PHNX Rising podcast. Of course, we are here in Studio K, presented by Circle K. Go and get a 79-cent Polar Pop. Oh, wait, don't do that. Go get a 69-cent Polar Pop. Pretty nice deal for our inner Circle members. I am Max Simpson, and I'm joined by the... Very fortunate. I'm joined by the Oracle himself, Mr. Owen Evans. How are we doing?
Oh, Max. Yeah.
Okay, it's that point already.
Yeah, it is.
We are not even a minute into this podcast.
We're getting ready. We got some talk about Tampa Bay Rowdies, who, you know, as we look at them, they're definitely not the kind of team that would really make you think, maybe a bit too much.
No, definitely.
No.
This podcast is about to get rowdy. We appreciate everyone joining us here in the chat. Let's see who we got. We got Thomas in the chat. Let's go. 9 beers, 90 minutes. I'm down. John in the chat. 9 beers, 90 minutes. Zero hope. Okay, we got Bandita's Bluebird talking about a certain Stylaki eating some hot dogs.
He did eat some hot dogs
and to
in
Stylaki's point, saying the hot dogs were better than Rising, not by much, but certainly better. You know, hopefully, we're not saying the same thing about the game against Tampa Bay Rowdies, and yet we very well might be. But right, as we do on these Thursday pods, we will talk to you guys about both sides, kind of previewing this matchup and some other fun updates around the USL. One that hits a little close to home for Phoenix Rising. But as we so often do, let's kind of start from the Phoenix Rising perspective, right? We talked a bit about it on Tuesday, heck, even on the postgame from Colorado Springs. And this team, right, they've seen a lot of new guys coming in. Owen, do you kind of see from this perspective, right, you now have over a week's worth of training for new number 9, 2 players that are there the week before, more now 2 weeks for them. Do you now think this is at a time where it's a fair assessment to say we may not see everything that these guys are going to bring to the table, but at least a more fair assessment than what we've seen from their first 1 or 2 matches?
Nah, they'll tell you that it'll take more time. I'm being real. That's the line that we'd get on that. Look, the thing about it, it does, to be fair, take time. I think Charlie Dennis has now been here for a while and is at a point whereby he can realistically be judged on what he's producing. More so maybe than you compare him with Tomas Angel, who's only been here now for just over a week still. So it's harder on him. I understand that. But I mean, look, the fact of the matter is that it's time for Phoenix Rising to step up. But I don't think that we'll probably not see it this weekend. There may be a chance after the short break that they have afterwards.
Yes. I mean, I definitely agree. It really does take time. And I think, right, again, this is kind of what I alluded to earlier in the week of, like, you're at a point where you're not bringing, it's a very different feel from last season. And that's to state the obvious, but right, you're bringing on
just a little bit,
but right, you're talking about bringing on players mid-season last year of, okay, it felt like a bit of reinforcements or even kind of ironing sharpen iron, right? You're bringing in John Stenberg into the fold. You're bringing in Panos Armanakis. You're bringing in Darius Formella. And it's like, okay, this team has been hovering around maybe the slight bottom half of the playoff position. Let's see how they can retool. They have stretches where they're in, stretches where they're off, but maybe this is the next edge. It's almost like we're seeing that this kind of incarnation of the season with the subs coming in, with all the movement of players departing, that it feels less about reinforcements and more about, okay, if you're coming in here, you're kind of here to save the season, or at least try to.
Yeah. Look, the key thing really more than anything is that so many teams around Rising have had such a struggle this season that there is still a chance and will be, I think, late into the season, no matter what they do. But yeah, the stress is starting to kick in. I mean, I feel as though when you look at the last 4 games that Phoenix Rising played, okay, we have to be honest about the caliber of the opposition they played. They were not good teams, right? They played 3 teams that were outside of the playoff position. They played Colorado Springs, who, yeah, they're a much better team comparatively, but they're still mid-table at the moment.
Yeah.
And they only picked up 4 points over those 4 games. Right? If you're a team that's actually challenging, that wants to get into the playoffs, that wants to do something maybe once they get into the playoffs, you've got to do better than that. Okay? It's a surefire sign, really, that, quite frankly, this team, they came into this season, I think we had expectations they were going to be improved versus last year. And again, we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. And again, it's a sign of the fact those 4 games coming after Danny Stone's departure, that there are deeper problems at this club, and it can't just be easily pointed at Danny Stone.
Yep. No, and it's very, very well said, right? Again, we have seen, and it's not to belabor the point further, but this club at times last season, right, you could kind of play to, hey, let's play to a gridlock, knowing that when we need to, we do have scorers who can turn it on. We've seen that attack. They're able to score in bunches at times. It wasn't consistent, but like, you know, that you have that in your reserve. You just have not seen it this season. And I think it just, again, I go back to, can you squeak into the playoffs? Can you win games? Can you even make a run? I'm not ruling it out. It's very possible. It's just your margins. I mean, in addition to playing just such unattractive soccer and like really not inspiring a ton of hope within the fan base, your margins are just so slim when you play that way. And that's what they've been doing for much of the season.
Yeah. No, it's not been great.
Right. Well, you kind of mentioned, right, talking about Colorado Springs, like, okay, that's a mid-table team. It's like, okay, like, yes, they have some scores, but like, you know, their position are what they are. Colorado Springs with a +4 goal differential. You know, Tampa Bay Rowdies, a little bit of a different story, and you have some perspective on that.
Yeah. So earlier this week, I did get the chance to speak with rising interim coach Diego Gomez on kind of the contrast in terms of the most recent opponents and the caliber of opposition they're going to be facing this weekend.
Yeah, I think Colorado came in a different time. Colorado was really good. Lately, they have struggled at the beginning of the season, but then they were a very good team. They had not lost again at home since March or April, since the very beginning of the season. So I think Colorado at home was a challenge. At their home was a challenge at their level that is going to be Tampa for us this week. So I think the team in that sense is ready. I think if we play like we played the second half against Colorado, we'll have a lot of chances to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, again, Colorado Springs, yes, better team than the 3 prior, but still, just overall, it's been poor. It's not been a good run for Phoenix Rising. And now it's about to get a lot harder because, again, this is a Tampa Bay team that is just very, very good.
Yeah. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into where just so much attack and everything, comes from this Tampa Bay side. I mean, listen, it's going to be a very tall task, and for Rising to win, I mean, I'm not just going to say this match, but it seems like any match of late, you really need to have some standout performances from, across the board, but at least 1 or 2 guys to really come to the table. I'm going to put this out now. Is this a Charlie Dennis revenge game?
A revenge in what sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's buzzwordy stuff that I just don't see.
It sure is. I knew you wouldn't like that one.
See, here's the thing, right? If you're going to talk about revenge games, you're talking about things like Panos Amanakis coming back here with Memphis later in the season.
It was a phrasing. It's Charlie Dennis going to have
been some
impact.
I know. And what I'm saying is there's clearly some kind of... I don't know if... Look, Charlie Dennis may do. I didn't think he had a particularly good game in Colorado Springs, so he's really got to bounce back from that. Look, he had the best times of his career really playing for Tampa Bay Rowdies. The stats that he put up in terms of the actual output that he's put in, the goals he scored.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, he knows his teammates quite well, his old teammates from there quite well. But they're going to know him quite well as well. And I think a large part of it also depends on quite how they choose to play Charlie Dennis. Again, give him some space up top, give him some space to play around. Maybe we'll see something happen. Expect him to play deeper, expect him to fill in those kind of positions further back on the field. And again, you're going to have a case whereby he may well have a decent enough game, but will the output be there to show for it? Because you're relying on other teammates who haven't managed to step up so far this season, who he played alongside in Oakland and didn't necessarily have the best of, again, output numbers back then as well. That's going to be the key part there in terms of, I think, what Charlie Dennis does. But again, I'm not sure what we'll see from Charlie Dennis. He's still relatively fresh to this club, even though he's now at a point whereby I think you can and should really judge him for what he's doing and not just well, it'll take time to get used to teammates. I think that what you're looking at now is realistically he should be putting out the performances that you'd expect to see from him.
Yep.
But will he do it consistently? Will it fit in with his teammates? That's what we have to wait and see still to an extent. And I don't know. He could come out against Tampa Bay and have a phenomenal game. He could come out against Tampa Bay and play in the same kind of way that he and the team at large, because it was, to be fair, a very poor team performance, did in Colorado Springs. We'll have to see.
Guess we will. Do you foresee this as a possible opportunity for Tomas Angel to kind of break in, right? I mean, knowing Tampa Bay, they're playing more on the front foot. Is there an opportunity to counterattack? Do you see this as where maybe he at least has more of an impact given another week than he did against Colorado Springs?
I don't know. Probably more of it compared to against Colorado Springs, just because of the sheer lack of time that he had with his teammates at that point. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that this is it's a game where he'll get on the score sheet. I wouldn't say that at all. I think this is a very, very difficult opponent they're about to come up against, and I mean, without wanting to almost create the excuse for this team of dropping points yet again, I'm not sure that you can expect them to necessarily get points. Now, if they were playing well, if this was a team that you were expecting to have any kind of actual ambition this season in terms of where they were going to finish in the league, I think you're expecting points. Yeah. Because it's a home game and you expect points. But right now for Rising, it feels as though success this season from this current position is going to be scraping into the playoffs. And in that kind of a scenario, you're not looking at a game like Tampa Bay Rowdies home and saying, well, you've got to get points from this game. This is one of those games where you kind of just accept that I think you could well end up on the wrong side of a pretty bad result.
Yeah. It's, try to, I wouldn't say keep it positive, but it's like, hey, there's usually silver linings. It's hard to find them this week, especially just knowing the opponent and everything like that. But silver lining we can always find. So friends at Circle K, they have multiple silver linings and a big one in the form of a 79-cent Polar Pop. And Owen, how much is a Polar Pop if you're an Inner Circle member?
I hear you take 10 cents off of that price.
Yes, what's that price?
Yes, what is it, man?
Yeah, no, I'm asking.
Can you do the numbers?
No,
you can do numbers.
I did the numbers off the top
He
of
does
the show.
numbers.
Why don't you say the two numbers?
Max, how much is it?
No, I'm asking
you.
No,
I don't know, Max. I'm testing you.
You don't have to
You're the
test me.
partnerships man, Max.
Don't do that.
You're a partners guy. Come on.
Throwing to you, trying to
you gotta get the partners. Come on,
already have.
Well, how much is it, Max?
No, don't do this. I'm
how
asking
much is
you.
it, Max?
It's a nice deal.
Go on, Max. How much is it?
I already said it.
Well, you can tell the people again.
This man is absolutely crazy. 69 cents.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, you really couldn't say that?
They're cheap. They're cheap. Good.
Oh
Good value.
You're the worst. Yes, Circle K is not the worst. Owen's the worst. But yes, great value with our friends over at Circle K, 69 cents through their Inner Circle program. Absolutely love it, right? Check them out at participating locations. Again, Inner Circle program, 25 cents saved per gallon on your first 5 fills. All that great stuff. I'll be hitting that before and after Saturday's match. Gonna be hot. That's how I cool.
Yeah, it might need something a bit harder than a Polar Pop after the game, I'm not going to lie. But you can also find that at Circle K.
Yeah, also who says I'm not put a little something in the Polar Pop. But hey, terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. See stores for details. All right. Talked about the Rising perspective. Goodness gracious, that was it's kind of glum. But hey, it is what it is, right? I mean, right? Goldman Pat, no one for positive. We are in full somber mode.
Oh, wow. We're such a positive... Here's the real question, actually. Banditas, are we looking at hammering like the Rick Shrug night? That's a great question. Remember, that was the last time Tampa Bay Rowdies came into town and put 5 on Rising, won 5-1 that game.
Dear gosh.
And that did have the infamous Rick Shrug. as well.
Yeah,
so
you gotta love it. Well, let's get into Tampa Bay. By the way, of course, make sure to hit that like button. There are multiple of you in the chat. Please hit the like button. Helps us out a ton. As Kyle, I know he's looking for that fun little graphic. I know he is. But yes, in the meantime, Tampa Bay Rowdies, right? They are third in the East behind Louisville and Charleston. It always kind of seems that those three are kind of near the top.
Charleston, as of last year onwards, yeah.
That's fair.
They were poor before that for a little bit.
Yeah. That's fair. Well, right.
But yes, Tampa Bay and Louisville always up at that top.
That is very fair. Yes. Well, third in the East off of, if I'm doing math correctly, 39 points, 11 wins, 4 losses, and 6 draws. 39 goals scored, third most in all of USL off of 43 expected goals. Second most in the USL. 22 goals conceded. Third least in the USL. Matches up well.
To be clear, the 39 points as well, by the way, is more than first place New Mexico United in the West.
I mean, that just shows how absolutely tight the East is. But yeah, I mean, listen, you're talking about a 17 goal difference. That's pretty darn good, especially for this point in the season. And they're a juggernaut, man. That's what this team is. Again, away form also key. This is maybe... right? Again, I'm not, we'll get into the score predictions later. I'm not going to be the one to say that this is a massive chance for Rising to steal points, but this maybe is where it's not going to be quite as ugly as we think. Away form for Tampa Bay, 4 wins, 4 losses, 3 draws. Here's the key as well. 14 goals for, 13 goals against, only a +1 goal differential. It just may not be super ugly. I hope that.
But they score a lot of goals, regardless. I mean, they've scored in their last 4 games. They've scored 2 goals or more.
That's fair.
So again, this is a point whereby this team just Rising have to get goals.
Yeah.
Because Tampa Bay are going to come and probably score a couple.
Yeah.
Look, they've dropped a few games that they shouldn't have dropped, to be fair, Tampa Bay. They've had some poor results at times during the season, but they're still a very, very good team. And of course, that's led by none other than Manuel Arteaga, someone who's quite a familiar face. Did you ever listen to what Diego Gomez had to say?
If somebody knows Manuel Arteaga, are probably our players. That's the good part. They were previous teammates. So they know how he plays. I think it's going to be a game where he's going to be very motivated, but also former teammates are going to be very motivated against him. He's a player that is very difficult to cover, and it's a challenge for all the teams, so it's not going to be different for us. But we are going to work on it and how we can make sure that Manu don't score, but it's not only Manu the danger. That's the difficult part of Tampa. Also, Carl is a very good player. Also, the wingbacks are dangerous. So it's we need to see how we deal with Manu, but without forgetting that there are many other players around that are going to be very good.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, Cal Jennings, right? When you actually think about these guys, right? Manuel Arteaga and Cal Jennings, between the two of them have more goals than Phoenix Rising does as a club this entire season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's matching up well as both. I mean, right. Diego's right. It's right. You have that familiarity in knowing what you're getting from Arteaga, but also, I mean, that's just it. He's not the only player you can key in on. I mean, right. Both Jennings and Arteaga, they're performing pretty closely to their expected goals. They are terror in that they're both getting up, just under 2 shots on target for every 90 minutes. I mean, between the two of them, listen, you're talking about, right, combined, that's, just under 4 shots on target per 90. That's what we've seen better just between those two players than Rising matches really in the last month. Like, these guys are in good form. They're taking a lot of shots, high quality chances, and right, doesn't just stop there. I mean, listen, this is definitely a different season for Jordan Farr, but right, 52 saves on the year as well between the sticks, a 72.2 save percentage. Listen, this Tampa Bay just has grizzled veterans, guys who know this league, guys who know how to produce, and it's facing a Rising team that they're just kind of trying to, gel together is maybe an understatement, but a lot of new faces, a lot of turnover with this club.
Yeah. And, look, when you're looking at it from Tampa Bay's perspective, of course, a new manager this season, Robbie Nielsen. So it's an interesting one, right? I'm not sure what to expect from Tampa Bay because they're a high goal scoring team who have had a lot of success this season, doing well, decent enough form, yet can drop some bad results in there. Obviously, they drew against San Antonio, they drew against El Paso, they drew against Monterey Bay. I mean, Monterey Bay are a little bit better maybe, but they're again, dropping down in those standings overall.
Yeah.
Look, they will give you maybe an opportunity to get something out of it, but you've got to take it. And right now, I think the vibes at Phoenix Rising, everything around the club is just not great.
Yeah.
And again, they can't seem to pull it off. They can't seem to quite ever get over that line and pull off a result against anyone who's not named El Paso for the last couple of months. And it's just not good enough, really. Yeah. And it's when you come up against big and imposing teams like Tampa Bay Rowdies, who are going to realistically come in and give you a serious fight. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard in that position.
100%. And again, like this is kind of illustrates, the difference in, between these two teams and how they're made up and everything like that, right? Again, Tampa Bay Rowdies, they have, handful of new faces in. They have a new coach. Same thing with Rising. They have, more than a handful of new faces. They do have a new manager, going into the season now on their second, right? And it is funny though. It kind of like, it showcases how, the way Tampa Bay went about things, right? They have a lot of guys who have known the league, who are plug and play, who have proved it at this level, and you're able to kind of slot away and go from there, right? Rising is just in a different position. And it is kind of funny, Golden Man Pat bringing up the question, do they know him, referring to Manuel Arteaga, how many former teammates will be on the field with him? There's a very real possibility that in that starting 11, he maybe has, 4 to 5, give or take, teammates who joined him last season. Depends on positioning and availability, but that's pretty wild considering that this guy, again, second leading goal scorer in the club last season, 5th in all of USL. It's pretty wild.
Look, he's a very good player, and Cal Jennings is a very good player as well. It's going to be a real handful to keep them off of the score sheet going into this game. A real handful.
Oh, yeah. It's very true. It is very true. Is that time? Score predictions?
Oh, we're doing score predictions. I see a lot of negativity in the chat, and I believe this one will carry through.
Yeah.
I think they're right. I think Rising are going to drop this one. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I'm going Tampa Bay Rowdies win 4-1.
Oh, my gosh. Let's see. Reese 5-0 Tampa. Goodness, he's starting the bloodbath. Kyle, what do you got?
4-0.
I'm going to assume Tampa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
good.
vibes
The vibes are
seriously
Not
bad
Rising.
right now.
I mean, it's not going to be good. I'll go 3-1, and it is a
Mr.
decisive
Optimistic
3-1.
over here. They're only going to lose by 2.
Hey, there we go. Mr. Positivity. Bad news, Bluebird in the chat.
Whoa,
4-1.
Max, don't get you.
4-1 to Tampa. Golden Man Pat 5-0 to Tampa. Albert in the chat 4-0 to Tampa. Andrew honestly maybe knows something that the rest of us doesn't.
Thomas 4-0 Tampa.
1-0 to Phoenix. Thomas 4-0 to Tampa. Yes. Reese predicting we score a goal is mental. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm seeing in the chat a lot of clean sheets and not the good kind. Oh man. Goodness gracious.
Somebody has to be positive.
I don't even know if it's positive.
And it wasn't going to be Thomas.
I don't know if it's positive. It's just, less. I don't know. It's something. One thing we can be positive about is our friends over at Valley Tap Room. 2 locations, right? Gilbert and Queen Creek, right? I mean, seeing Reese in the chat, I do owe Kevin $100 if Rising wins 1-0. You can use that money towards our friends at Valley Tap Room. They got the nice deals on the beer. They got the wine slushies. They got the 2 great locations. It's all great stuff. Check them out. Again, Gilbert, Queen Creek. And, Owen, what did we do when we went to their location?
Oh, yeah, Spain Save Football.
It will never get old. It will be said every single show.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
It's true. I'm just more confused right now as to where exactly Reese is getting this $100 from.
I don't know.
I didn't realize that Lackey had that money.
Sure he does.
It's not happening, is it?
It's not happening. Oh,
that's a famous last word.
Oh.
But Reese, as someone who has said that before, it's very rare. But when that does happen, Kevin can take that money over.
You're gonna be like one of those guys who has those like England 2018 World Cup winner tattoo. Crossed it out 2022. Crossed it out again, 24 Euro winner. Eventually, maybe one of these days, yeah?
Yep, but not at Valley Tap Room, because Valley Tap Room, Spain Save Football. We didn't say any of that nonsense.
They say football.
Yeah, you're darn right. Check them out, Valley Tap Room, the 2 locations. Check them out on socials at Valley Tap Room and find them at valleytaproom.com. All right, let's see.
You just reminded him, apparently. Yeah, Reese, by the way.
Thomas in the chat.
Apparently Kev was
Andrew
drunk.
in the chat saying, I ride and die with my team during good and bad times. And Andrew, we love that, right? Thomas in the chat, usually I'm with you, Andrew. I have no hope any more. Goodness gracious. Golden Man Pat is just also saying things, right? It's just that point of
He's
the
getting
season.
that tattoo when Rising win the league, right?
Dear gosh,
the one of you on his rear.
Between him and Eric, goodness gracious, you have it covered. Right. Well, listen, if Rising's going to win and people are going to get some cheeks tats, it's not going to be on account of, possibly different managerial change, right? Again, Danny Stone, as we know, is no longer with the club, but he is with a club, and he signed on as the
Orange County.
Was he first assistant
coach,
for Orange County? Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, he's made the move over there. Of course, that means Danny Stone has a new job before Phoenix Rising has filled the vacancy that was left by Danny Stone's departure. So again, right, I understand the club want to make sure they get this appointment right, but right now, just it feels like they're stuck in this awkward limbo and not really knowing what the direction for the future holds right now with this club, and we'll have to see.
They're kind of taking the better late than never kind of approach.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see, though. We'll see. But again, obviously with Danny Stone, well, what it indicates actually there is that I don't think the club really had a plan when they made the move.
Or is this the plan?
It's a pretty poor plan given they've fallen down the table even further.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Maybe that is the plan. That is an interesting one. Thomas in the chat, Diego will get fired before the new guy comes in. I mean, we're talking about 3 managers.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that in a minute. But I just want to say again on Danny Stone that, of course, good to see that he's managed to get himself another job in this league. We will, of course, be seeing Danny then come September when Rising make the trip out to Orange County at the end of September. Okay. They'll be playing over there in Irvine. And yeah, again, someone who had a lot of success here as an assistant coach. And of course, we wish him the best. And, I mean, it's Orange County, so there's only so far that you can wish him success. But yeah, it is what it is. I'll say this now, that some of the comments say with Diego will get fired when the new guy comes in. Here's a really intriguing one. So many predictions of this team getting battered this weekend.
Yeah.
They then have a 2-week gap. Does this team getting battered this weekend, if that should happen, does that lead to an increased urgency to bring someone in?
Honestly, and I don't think the chat's going to like this answer, I don't think so. Because I think the way that this gone, if you already don't have increased urgency, I don't know what you expect. Yes, Rising. I mean, you think about it. Rising, the last time they got battered, they did make a decision, but that was also on the road, and that was against a team that was like, okay, whatever, mid-table,
Easier to get rid than bring in, though.
I completely agree. Right. This is one where you are expected to lose this one, and I mean, listen, players aren't going to want to hear that, but that's also like, you look at how these two teams are trending. That is the reality. If you are an odds makers, if you are with our friends over at Bet365, right, you are going to be favoring Tampa Bay heavily.
They
right?
are.
Right.
They are, by the way.
Knowing that where these two teams are trending, that's just how this thing goes. And if Tampa Bay ends up kind of blowing Rising out of the water, I think unfortunately you've kind of seen where the lack of urgency already is with this club. And if it's compounded further by, losing to a team that's top 3 in the East, top 3 overall within the USL, like, I think that's almost kind of expected, and that's a horrible place to be, but it is where we are.
The real question here is, have they written off the season? And again, they'll never
no
publicly
one's
admit
obviously
it.
Say that, yeah.
But have they? I'll also say this: if Diego, you say you're sticking with Diego, if he gets into the playoffs and say wins a game in the playoffs, is it the right move to then move on from him? This can be the thing with waiting on coaches.
That is the tough. I mean, I would say if you're not looking at a reset, no matter what, short of Rising going, winning the remaining of their games in spectacular blowout fashion, I think that we very much viewed, again, going back, we viewed Danny Stone as a very competent hire. Was it a last minute one given the circumstances? Yes, but you went with it. You then made this decision midway through the season, and regardless how long you ride with Diego in that position, he has been there, I would say, longer than at least many people anticipated, knowing that it seemed like, okay, there's reinforcements coming. You're not giving up on this season, knowing that you're trying to defend the championship. I think where this club stands, no matter what happens, again, short of a spectacular run, how can you not? How can you absolutely not? Seeing the results, seeing the lack of play, knowing that even if there are reinforcements who have come in the recent weeks, most of them are gone after the season, right? Like the loanies, everything like that. It's a tough position to be at. It really is. You can say all you want, like, yes, there's injuries and stuff like that. You're going to have a core hopefully returning in some degree, but like the fact that, again, you're going to be bare bones at the attack. How can you not start completely fresh and find someone from the beginning of the season with a full preseason that marries the ideals of the club together along with, here's the big one, proper recruitment?
We'll see.
We will see.
We'll see.
In fact, winning one playoff game is the bar now. That's low.
That would be low.
See, Thomas in the chat, if Diego wins a playoff game, he stays no matter what, but not liking that decision. Going on that path, they're looking for eternal coaches to step up. Yeah, it's tough, man. Listen, you're like you said, no one's ever going to say they're giving up on the season, and maybe there is fight. Maybe we're just seeing this the wrong way, and maybe that hopefully something will emerge. But I think it's very hopeful. And if you can only go off what we've been seeing from this team over really the entire season, but especially the last month or two, it's hard to kind of write the narrative anything but that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Alrighty, I think at that point, that'll
Max wants to get out of here quick now. He's had enough for the day.
Oh boy. Well, we appreciate everyone joining us here on the PHNX Rising podcast. Of course, you can follow us at PHNX__rising because _.
No.
You always say no. You have to come up with something. You have copped out way too often.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
Do it.
No.
Double the no?
No.
Double the no. You can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow Owen on Twitter at OJ Evans 18. You can follow Style Like Reese on Twitter at Reese11_. You can follow Kyle Behind the Mac at K Coop Sports. Again, we'll be coming to you guys live Saturday post game after whatever this ends. Oh boy. Yeah, it is a beautiful. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were going to say something. It is a beautiful game, but it is way more beautiful when you fast forward after Saturdays.
We all silly like the mayor.